Hi, and we're back to the Gospels, and today we'll be sharing from the Gospel of Matthew, and so the second chapter. And in this chapter, Matthew gives us a deeper, or he gives us more detail about the birth of Christ. Yesterday, Luke told us about the shepherds and how the angels appeared to them the night that Jesus was born, and Matthew now tells us about the Magi, or what people call the three wise men who came from the east to see Jesus. Now, I've learned so many new facts about Jesus's birth from reading these books now in this order. I don't know about you, but it's been very interesting for me, and I'll share some of the facts that I've learned with you. First, the wise men were most likely astrologers. Think about the people who the magicians and the wise men who were in Nebuchadnezzar's court in the book of Daniel. So I feel like they are those kind of people, or could have been those kind of people. And but these ones actually had access to the scripture, or knew the scripture. They obviously weren't Jewish, and they came from somewhere far away. People say that they may have traveled anywhere between 500 and 2,000 miles to get to Bethlehem. And they had access to scripture, most likely because they quoted Micah 5:2, right? And so obviously, they said, according to the prophets, a king will be born in Bethlehem of Judea. Now they brought three gifts: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But then they weren't necessarily three wise men, because if you read the text, it didn't say anywhere that there were three. So I don't know who came up with that, and how every nativity story has only three wise men, but from all the indications, there were more than three. Now, the third thing was that they traveled for a very long time, like I said before, and they followed a star, or what some people say, a sign in the sky, to get to Bethlehem. And by the time they got to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, they were not in the barn. They were already home. So obviously it wasn't the same night that the shepherds went to see Jesus, and it wasn't the same night that Jesus was born. If you read the text again, you'll see that it said when they got to their home. And then reading on, this must have been about even 2 years after Jesus had been born, because Herod commanded that every child that is 2 years and younger, based on the information that he got from the Magi. So this wasn't, they weren't part of the nativity scene, let's just put it like that. And the fourth thing was that Herod was obviously very jealous and a little psychopathic, if you ask me, and he was very paranoid. Some research into him showed that he obviously he saw Jesus as a threat, right? And so he wanted to kill him. Now it makes sense for the kind of person he is, because some research into him found out that he killed his sons, or some of his sons, to make sure they didn't succeed him or overthrow him, and he even killed his favorite wife. So clearly he was, a little paranoid. But then apparently he started off good, because apparently he was supposedly a very good sort of governor for that province, or that side of the Roman Empire. Remember, at this time, Israel was under the Roman Empire. In fact, the whole world was under the Roman Empire. So he was like the governor over that side. And he started off by doing, creating good infrastructure for them, doing buildings and all. But then the older he got, maybe he got a little cuckoo. Anyway, I found it very interesting that God alerted foreigners about Jesus's birth and guided them to Bethlehem to come and see him and worship him. And I take this as a sign that it was, to show that Jesus didn't come just for the people in his vicinity. He didn't come just for the Israelites. He came for people from far and wide. So this goes to my point, which I've been making since we started this gospel, about how the redemption of Jesus's redemption story is all about inclusivity. So he came for just not his people, but foreigners and outsiders. Now, Joseph's fleeing to Egypt with Mary and Jesus was obviously part of the plan, even though I assume that it wouldn't have made sense at the time. But Egypt was not under Herod's jurisdiction, so he had to leave him. And by the time he was told in a dream to return, Herod had died and all the people had died, and then he was succeeded by his son. So clearly that's maybe one son that got away from from his father, so he took over the throne. And we see how Jesus came to live in Nazareth because Joseph still didn't feel comfortable going back there, and thereby fulfilled the prophecy of being called a Nazarene. And then that's how he became Jesus of Nazareth. I enjoyed these facts. They were just so, it was so nice to know. I was like, how have I not always known this? Anyway, let me tell you something else I got to know, which is my hashtag getting to know God lesson from this chapter. Jesus is the king of every nation, not just the Israelites. See how non-Jews traveled for months to come and give him expensive gifts and to worship him. That just shows that he didn't come just for the Jews, like I said. Also, God's protective nature was clearly on display in these chapters, because here he protected the wise men, brought them safely to Jerusalem or to Bethlehem, and then even warned them in a dream to leave in a different direction so that they wouldn't go back to Herod. And he did the same for Joseph and his family. He protected them by asking them to go to Egypt, and brought them back through a dream as well. Joseph received his instructions in a dream as well to return when it was safe. So God's protective nature shows us that he can be trusted. And we should just always lean into him and believe that he has our best interests at heart all the time. So thank you for joining me today. It was a pleasure for me to share my lessons with you today. And tomorrow, continue with Matthew 3, Mark 1, and Luke 3. Looking forward to seeing you here. Have a wonderful day. God bless you. Bye.